Dawn, September 29th, 1864. 4,500 black soldiers wade a swamp outside Richmond and walk into a field of sharpened stakes under direct artillery fire. The lead brigade loses half its men before it reaches the earthworks. In the entire Civil War, 25 black men were awarded the Medal of Honor. 14 of them earned it before that morning was over, on that one field in roughly 30 minutes. No other single battlefield in American history holds that record. 15 surnames came off those citations. One of them may be sitting on your mailbox. This is a countdown of 15 surnames, from 15 down to 1, and I want to be straight about how it was chosen, because it was not chosen by me. The criterion: every black soldier of the United States colored troops awarded the Medal of Honor. All of them. 14 for New Market Heights, 1 for the Crater, 15 men, 15 different surnames, no repeats, nothing padded to reach a round number. But first you need to know what the record actually is, because it is the single most underused document in Black American family history. Picture an index card that follows a man through the war. Every time his name appears on any paper the Army generates, a muster roll, a hospital ledger, a descriptive book, a payroll, a clerk copies that line onto a card. Years later, every card for one man goes into one jacket. That jacket is what the National Archives calls a compiled military service record, and it sits in Record Group 94. There are roughly 185,000 of them for the United States colored troops. Over 175,000 black men served, 138 infantry regiments, 14 heavy artillery, 6 of cavalry. By the end of the war, they were close to 1 in 10 Union soldiers. Around 40,000 died, and 3 out of 4 of those deaths were disease, not combat. Now here is why the card matters more than the medal. When a man enlisted, a clerk filled out a descriptive line: age, height, complexion, hair, eyes, birthplace, occupation. For a man born enslaved, whose birth was never recorded, who never appeared in a census by name, who existed on paper only as a number in a column of property, that enlistment card is frequently the first document in the history of the United States that describes him as a person. 15 surnames. Number 15. Number 15, Bronson, James H. Bronson, enlisted on July 4th, 1863 in Trumbull County, Ohio. His card records him at 25 years old, 5'9", gray eyes, dark hair, occupation barber. He went into Company D of the 5th United States Colored Troops and rose to first sergeant. At New Market Heights, every officer in his company was killed or wounded, and Bronson took charge of the company and led it through the rest of the day. Here's the part nobody tells. After the battle, after the Medal of Honor, Bronson requested that his own rank be reduced so that he could transfer into the regimental band. He wanted to play music. He mustered out on September 20th, 1865 at Carolina City, North Carolina. Number 14, Harris. James H. Harris was born in 1828 in St. Mary's County, Maryland, and he was 36 years old when he enlisted, old for an infantryman. His descriptive card lists him at 5'10", farmer. He served in Company B of the 38th USCT. He was promoted to corporal on July 25th, 1864, and then to sergeant on September 29th, the same day as the battle, meaning he was promoted and wounded within hours of each other. His muster rolls put him in hospital through September and October, back on duty in November. Then on July 1st, 1865, his rank was reduced to private, and his file gives no reason at all. He mustered out at Indianola, Texas in January 1867. Number 13, Barnes. William H. Barnes was 19 years old. He was 5 feet 4 inches, a farmer from St. Mary's County, Maryland, and he had been in the Army for less than 3 months when the battle came. He enlisted on July 2nd, 1864 into the 38th USCT. His citation says he was among the first men to enter the enemy's works. Although wounded, he was promoted to sergeant. Then his regiment was shipped to Indianola, Texas, and there, in the humidity of the Gulf Coast, Barnes contracted tuberculosis. He died on Christmas Eve, 1866. The Army mustered him out of service in January 1867, a month after he was already in the ground. Number 12, Veal. Charles Veal was born in 1838 in Portsmouth, Virginia, and he was working as a fireman when he enlisted in July 1863, age 25, into Company D of the 4th United States Colored Troops. Understand what a color guard was. 14 men, 2 sergeants, and 12 corporals walked in front of the regiment carrying and defending the flag, and every gunner and rifleman on the other side was trained to shoot at exactly them. Veal was one of the 14. When the smoke cleared, he was the only one of the 14 still standing. His citation reads that he seized the national colors after 2 color bearers had been shot down close to the enemy's works and bore them through the remainder of the battle. He died on July 27, 1872. Number 11, Gardner. James Gardner was an oysterman from Gloucester, Virginia. He was 19, 5'7", and he enlisted on September 15, 1863, into Company 1 of the 36th United States Colored Troops. His citation is the most physically specific on this entire list, and it does not describe a man defending a flag. It describes a man attacking. Gardner rushed out in advance of his own brigade, shot at a Confederate officer who was standing on the parapet, cheering his men forward, and then ran him through with the bayonet. One private, alone, ahead of everybody. He was promoted to sergeant the following day. He mustered out at Brazos de Santiago, Texas, on September 20th, 1866. Number 10, Beatty, Powhatan. Beatty was born enslaved in Richmond, Virginia on October 8, 1837. He got free, moved to Cincinnati, and did something you would not predict. He studied acting. He was training for the stage when the war came. He enlisted on June 9, 1863, in Ohio, into Company G of the 5th USCT and made first sergeant. At New Market Heights, he ran back across open ground to retrieve the flag from a fallen color bearer, then found every officer in his company dead or wounded, took command, and led it. He mustered out on September 20th, 1865. Then he went back to Cincinnati and became a working stage actor, which is exactly what he had set out to be. Number 9, Kelly. Alexander Kelly was born near Saltsburg in Indiana County, Pennsylvania on April 7, 1840. He was a 23-year-old coal miner, and he did not enlist for himself. His brother Joseph was drafted, and Joseph had a large family who depended on him. So Alexander went to Allegheny on August 24, 1863, and enlisted as a substitute in his brother's place into Company F of the 6th USCT. Think about what that decision actually was. Substitution was legal, and the men who normally took it took cash. Kelly took no bounty from a stranger. He took his own brother's place in a war that was executing captured black soldiers rather than taking them prisoner. He fought at Petersburg and at Dutch Gap. At New Market Heights, the color bearer went down in front of him, and Kelly seized the colors, rallied what was left of the line, and led them in a charge on the enemy breastworks. He died on June 19, 1907, and Joseph's family had gone on existing for 44 years because of him. Number 8, Penn. Robert A. Penn was born free on March 1, 1843 in Stark County, Ohio. His father had escaped slavery at 18 and made it north. When the war began, Penn tried to enlist and was turned away because of his race. So in 1861, he attached himself to the 19th Ohio Infantry as a civilian laborer and fought at Shiloh anyway, with no rank, no pay as a soldier, and no protection. Once black enlistment opened, he joined Company Y of the 5th USCT. On September 29th, he fought at Fort Harrison, and later that same day was severely wounded at Fort Gilmer. Afterward, he went home to Ohio, studied law, and became the first black attorney in his county. He commanded a Grand Army of the Republic Post. He died in Massillon in 1911. Number 7, Holland. Milton M. Holland was born in Austin, Texas in 1844. He was a shoemaker, 5'8", and he was 18 years old when he enlisted at Athens, Ohio, into the 5th United States Colored Troops. His citation is 4 lines long. Took command of Company C after all the officers had been killed or wounded, and gallantly led it. Read that again. He commanded a company of United States infantry in combat, and when the Army was asked to commission him as an officer for having done it, the Army refused. on the grounds of his race. He moved to Washington, D.C. and worked as a government clerk. When he died on May 15, 1910, he left an estate of 32 acres and a 12-room frame house with a barn, a stable, and a carriage house. Quick thing, then straight back. If your surname has already come up, or if you're 7 deep and still waiting on it, subscribe now, because the last 3 names on this list are the hardest ones. And after them, I'm going to tell you exactly how to pull your own ancestors' file, most of it free. Number 6, Charles James. Miles James was born in 1829 in Princess Anne County, Virginia. He was 34, a farmer, when he enlisted on November 16, 1863, into Company B of the 36th USCT. At New Market Heights, his left arm was so badly destroyed that it was amputated on the battlefield, in the field during the fight. His citation states that after the amputation, he loaded and discharged his weapon with one hand and urged his men forward. In hospital afterward, James asked not to be discharged. He wanted to stay in the Army. His brigade commander, Brigadier General Alonzo Draper, wrote to the War Department on his behalf and said he is one of the bravest men I ever saw and worth more with his single arm than half a dozen ordinary men. Number 5, Hawkins. Thomas R. Hawkins was born in 1840 in Cincinnati. According to his obituary, he escaped the Southern lines in 1863, and the moment he reached free soil, he knelt down and kissed the ground. He enlisted in Philadelphia and entered the 6th United States Colored Troops as a sergeant major, the highest rank open to a black soldier. At New Market Heights, he was shot through the shoulder, through the hip, and through the foot, and he still got the regimental colors off the field. After the war, he organized for the Temperance Society in Washington. Those 3 wounds never stopped costing him. He was awarded the Medal of Honor on February 8, 1870, and he died on February 28, 20 days later. Number 4, Hilton. Alfred B. Hilton was one of 14 children born to parents who had been enslaved. In August 1863, Alfred and 2 of his brothers walked into the same recruiting office and enlisted together into Company H of the 4th United States Colored Troops. He was 21, a farmer, and he went in as a sergeant. At New Market Heights, the color bearer was hit, and Hilton took the flag. Then he was hit. He kept moving forward, carrying it, until his body would not carry it any further. He was taken to the military hospital at Fortress Monroe, where his right leg was amputated below the knee, and he died of his wounds on October 21, 1864. Freedmen's Bureau records show his parents, Isaac and Harriet, were paid a $90 pension in 1868. Number 3, Radcliffe. Edward Radcliffe was born enslaved on February 8, 1835, on a farm in James City County, Virginia. He was one of 38 people held there by a man named Alexander Hankins. And when the war came, Hankins raised a Confederate artillery unit. So understand the arithmetic here. In 1864, at 29 years old, Radcliffe walked off the farm belonging to a serving Confederate officer and enlisted in the 38th USCT. He was not running away from the war. He was walking into it against the man who owned him. At New Market Heights, his commanding officer was killed. Radcliffe took command of the company, and he became the first Union soldier to get inside the Confederate defenses and stand in them. 19 months earlier, he had been listed as property on a Virginia farm. He rose to first sergeant and then sergeant major, mustered out at Indianola, Texas in January 1867, and died in York County, Virginia in 1915, a free man on Virginia soil. Number 2, Fleetwood. Christian. A Fleetwood was born free in Baltimore. He was a clerk, 23 years old, 5'4.5", when he enlisted into the 4th United States Colored Troops on August 11, 1863, and he rose to sergeant major. He also left the best surviving description of what that morning was like because he was interviewed about it decades afterward, and he called it a deadly hailstorm of bullets, sweeping men down as hailstones sweep leaves from trees. His citation reads that he seized the colors after 2 color bearers had been shot down and bore them nobly through the fight. After the war, he worked as a clerk in the War Department and he spent the rest of his life making sure the record of what these regiments did not disappear. Number 1, Dorsey, the only man on this list who did not earn it at Newmarket Heights, and the one whose file says the most about what this country was. Decatur Dorsey was born enslaved around 1836 in Howard County, Maryland. He was a laborer. He enlisted at Baltimore on March 22, 1864, into Company B of the 39th USCT, and here is the detail. The man who had held him was paid a $100 bounty as a result of that enlistment. Dorsey's freedom was purchased from his enslaver by the federal government, and Dorsey then went and fought for it a second time. On July 30th, 1864, at Petersburg, Union engineers detonated a mine under the Confederate line and blew a hole 170 feet long, 60 feet wide, and 30 feet deep. The white regiment sent in first became trapped inside it and were shot down from above. Dorsey's division had been held in reserve. He was the color bearer. He went out ahead of the 39th and planted the regimental flag on the Confederate works. When the regiment was driven back, he carried the flag back with him and rallied the men to go again. He was awarded the Medal of Honor on November 8, 1865, discharged a month later, and died on July 11, 1891, in Hoboken, New Jersey. Now the science, because the title of this video makes a claim, and I am not going to leave it standing without testing it. In most American families, the surname and the Y chromosome travel together, father to son, generation after generation. That makes Y DNA the one test that speaks directly to a surname question. And a study published in the journal Human Genetics, which examined 93 African American men across autosomal, X chromosome, Y chromosome, and mitochondrial markers, found something the historical record already implies. European ancestry was highest on the Y chromosome, about 28.5%, compared with roughly 20% across the autosomes and 12% on the X chromosome. Other estimates put European Y chromosomes in Black American men between 27 and 34%, threefold more European ancestry entering through fathers than through mothers. That asymmetry is not a curiosity. It is the genetic fingerprint of what was done to enslaved women, written into the male line. And now the honest word, because this channel does not deal in wishful thinking. There is no such thing as a freedom bloodline, and your surname is not evidence of one. Most enslaved men had no legal surname at all. When they enlisted, a recruiting clerk wrote something down. Some took the name of the family that had held them. Some took the name of a father they had been sold away from. And thousands chose new ones outright: Freeman, Liberty, Lincoln, Washington, because a name was the first property they had ever been permitted to own. Men from a single plantation frequently enlisted under a single shared surname with no blood relation between them whatsoever, and that Y chromosome finding cuts both ways. If roughly 3 in 10 Black American men carry a European paternal line, then in a meaningful share of families, the surname and the actual male ancestry do not run in the same direction. Barnes, Harris, James, Kelly. These are among the most common surnames in the United States. Sharing one with a Medal of Honor recipient is not descent from him, it is a lead. The paper is what decides. But here is the part that makes the correction worth more than the myth. There were over 175,000 of these men. 15 got medals. The other 175,000 got a jacket of index cards in Record Group 94, and those cards are just as real, just as findable, and describe your ancestor just as precisely. You are not looking for a hero. You are looking for a name, a height, a birthplace, and a trade, written down by a clerk in 1864 on the day a man who had been property signed his mark and became a soldier of the United States. That document exists. Go get it. So here's how to get the paper. Start free. The National Park Service runs the Civil War Soldiers and Sailors database at nps.gov/Civil War. Search the surname, filter to the United States Colored Troops, and it will give you the regiment and company. Then check the pension index. The general index to pension files is free on Family Search, and it tells you whether that man or his widow ever filed a claim. Then order two things from the National Archives. The compiled military service record is $25 on Form 86. That is the jacket with the descriptive card in it, the height, the complexion, the birthplace, the trade. Often the only physical description of that ancestor that exists anywhere on Earth. The full pension file is $80 on Form 85, up to 100 pages, 70 cents a page after that. And that file is the real prize, for a reason most people never think about. To claim a widow's pension, a woman had to prove a marriage that American law had never recognized in the first place. So the government took sworn depositions from neighbors, from midwives, from men who had served alongside her husband, describing the wedding on the plantation, the names of the children, the year of each birth, and who had owned whom. Those depositions are your family under oath in their own words. Two more. The International African American Museum Center for Family History has digitized USCT pension files for South Carolina regiments free, and search the National Archives for the slave compensation files of 1866 and 1867, claims filed by slaveholders demanding payment because the men they held had enlisted. Those claims name the enslaver and the soldier on the same page. Tell me in the comments which surname and which regiment number. There were 138 infantry regiments alone, and the regiment number is what separates two men with the same name.